Thanks, Lascan Corla, and I welcome this opportunity to raise the important issue of Coláiste Dhún Másc in Phortlaoise. Coláiste Dhún Másc was established in 2017, opened 2 years ago, and it currently has 78 pupils. And I welcome the fact that the Minister has taken this issue here today, this question. It's housed on an interim basis, Minister, in what was the old technical school at Railway Street, Phortlaoise, which was renovated by the VEC and now Laois Offaly ETB. The building's okay. There are shortcomings in terms of there's very little space around it in terms of play areas and all of that. But the building, there isn't room for expansion there. But I just want to give great credit to Laois Offaly ETB, the staff of the college, and particularly on Previgi, who has done great work there, Aoife Elstrom, and on Forest Patronach, which is the joint patron along with the Laois Offaly Education and Training Board. It's Gáchanga, it's a bilingual school. There are 2 streams in it, an Irish stream and an English stream. Very, very successful. 78 pupils at the school, despite the fact you have only first and second year there at the moment, and we have pupils from throughout Laois in it, and it's providing second level education for children from all schools, but in particular from the 3 Gael schools in the county, Dáil, Gael School Trumra and Gael School Phortlaoise. So a very huge success story, and then it has the Osperla stream, which brings in all pupils. But September, Minister, there's 112 pupils already registered. This has grown beyond everyone's expectation. Now, I want to acknowledge the fact that we have 3 newish secondary schools in Phortlaoise, 3 very, very large schools built in the last 15 years. And I want to acknowledge that because sometimes we complain about what's not happening. There's been a huge expansion in second level education and indeed in primary education in the county, and there's been that investment in it, over the past 12 or 13 years. But despite that, and you would say sometimes when the schools are being built, will they ever be filled? They are being filled, and the demographics is telling us that they're filling up even quicker, and we're running out of space, and we have run out of space. We have outgrown the buildings. Phortlaoise is a very fast-growing town, and as I said, these schools are taking pupils, from huge catchment areas, and in particular, Coláiste Dhún Másc, because of the Irish stream, it's bringing in children from all parts of the county, from the outer fringes of the county, indeed. So, great success story, but now it needs a new site. It needs a new site. It needs a new building. Laois Offaly ETB, the current building will not stand empty, particularly with Laois Offaly ETB. It's a very dynamic organisation. It's playing a huge role in terms of providing further education in County Laois and in Offaly, and a huge range of educational support and all sorts of courses for people and helping to get people to train up and skill up and get back into work. But what we have here now is we have this school, we have Coláiste Dhún Másc located in the old technical school. What we must do is to start the process of tying down a site for it so as we can move on and expand.
Deputy Brian Stanley, thanks very much for raising this, and I know my own colleague Minister Charlie Flanagan has raised this with me. I am answering on behalf of Minister McHugh, but I do want to say myself on my own behalf that I have actually heard, and I know you've told me this, Deputy Stanley, about how progressive the school is, how pupils want to go to the school, and also how well the school is being managed, and that there is an excellent principal there. So I do want to acknowledge that. Those facts. So, as you've said, and you know, that this school, Coláiste Dhún Másc, that is opened in September 2017 under the patronage of Laois Offaly Education and the Training Board to serve Phortlaoise. So, in line with the establishment of such new schools generally, it commenced with the intake of first-year students, and enrolments at the school, as you pointed out, are continuing to grow. The school is currently located in interim accommodation, as you know, and it's sourced by the ETB, and a building project to deliver permanent accommodation for the school in question is included in the department's capital programme. The delivery of the permanent school building for Coláiste Dhún Másc requires the acquisition of a suitable site. In that respect, the Department of Education and Skills has been working closely with Laois County Council under the Memorandum of Understanding in relation to the acquisition of a site for that school. Officials have also been closely engaged with officials in Laois Offaly ETB regarding the process. Now, a number of potential site options were identified and comprehensively assessed with input from officials in the County Council and the ETB. The Deputy will appreciate that multiple factors must be considered in respect of potential school sites, including sometimes complex technical issues, as well as the availability of any suitable sites. Unfortunately, all of the sites initially identified presented challenges in respect of the proposed acquisition or the delivery of the school accommodation thereon. A further site option was subsequently identified and was found to present a viable solution for the delivery of accommodation and ancillary facilities for Coláiste Dhún Másc. So, negotiations with the landowner in respect of the proposed acquisition of this site are at a very advanced stage, Deputy. You will appreciate the commercial sensitivities that attach to that school site acquisition generally, and in this instance, given the delicate status of the current negotiations, I'm not in a position to disclose any further information regarding the proposed location of the school's permanent accommodation. However, I can assure the Deputy that Department officials are working to advance the acquisition of a site for Coláiste Dhún Másc as expeditiously as possible, with a view to facilitating the progression of the project to deliver its permanent accommodation into architectural planning at the earliest possible date. The Department will continue to liaise with officials in Laois Offaly ETB in order to keep them appraised of the status of the site acquisition process, and will inform the ETB and the school community of the permanent location for the school as soon as it is possible to do so.
Only has 2 minutes.
For that reply, and there's some positive news in it from what you're saying. I suppose the key point to make here is that even when we tie down a site, and when a site has been secured, you know, to go through the various stages of planning, design and planning, etc., and construction, you know, it will take a considerable period of time, perhaps over 2 years. So you're looking at, you know, perhaps best case scenario 2022 or 2023 here to get to actually have the school up and running. So I just outlined to you the demands that's on it. I mean, it's, I suppose, a victim of its own success, the fact that it has grown so quickly, you know, from 40 pupils the first year, it'll have over 200 by September, and that's no bad thing. I welcome the fact that that your department is engaging intensely with the County Council and with Laois Offaly ETB in terms of trying to progress it. I know there was difficulty with some of the sites identified, and you know, in that regard, obviously it makes sense to try and get the most suitable one. But I want to welcome the fact that the department is working to advance the acquisition of the site for Dhún Másc, for Gaelscoil Dhún Másc, or Coláiste Dhún Másc, and it's trying to move on the project as quickly as possible. I would just urge you and to you know, to speak to the Minister Joe McHugh I will speak to him as well, to, just to bring back the message that we welcome the good news. We do need to keep the push on it, move on the project, and hopefully try and get the site secured so as it can move on to design, architectural planning, and then planning permission and construction, and that can happen as quickly as possible. I think that the growth in population in the county, and particularly the baptisms in the neighbouring parishes and in the parish of Phortlaoise, tells us, all the demographic figures tell us, that we are going to have huge increases in secondary school population over the next 5 and 10 years in the county. So thanks very much, Minister.
Minister, 2 minutes.
Again, thank you very much, Deputy, and I will, of course, bring your message to Minister McHugh. And look, I have the same problem myself, actually, for our Educate Together Dún Laoghaire School. It's to get that site and all around then the sensitivities of it and the complex, the complex process all around site acquisition. But I will bring that message, and yes, please do speak to Minister McHugh yourself. Thank you.